Holy smokes. Going live. Boy, this was quite the sprint to get set up here. I was at a little meeting earlier and completely lost track of time. Almost didn't make this, but we made it. Just barely. Everything is coming together here. Let me brighten that up a little bit. All right. Holy smokes. All right, so today we are going to be using the Waves CR8 to make some music. Panda, what's up? Good to see you. Glad you're here. I'm getting everything set. Usually I have everything set up ahead of time, but like I said, I was a little bit behind. I was at like a meeting about like a town event, and somebody had their phone on the table and it lit up and it said 11:45. I'm like, I gotta go. I did not even realize I was that close. But yeah, so let me pull this up here. Let me get my screen going. Shabam. Oops, where's me? Small me. Hang on a minute. My things are all wonky. I keep doing a lot of screen records with OBS, so everything's all backwards. Everything's all backwards and wonky. Let me turn that up. Jeez, no wonder I couldn't hear myself. All right. Oh, I have some reverb on. Okay. Can you hear that heater in the background? Is that going off? I can turn that off. Let me just turn that off. That's annoying. Whew. Mad dash. I'm almost sweating. That was a mad dash to get here. All right, so let's pull up our CR8 that we're working with here. So this is a new plugin by Waves. I just released a video on this last night, and the link is down below in the description. But what this is something very exciting. We turn on Small Me. Oh, that's not Small Me. There's Small Me. Hi, Small Me. So this is pretty cool. This is a sampler. It's currently $10 right now on Waves as their intro offer. And with this, they also released the free Cosmos, which Cosmos is this free sample finder, which you can launch in your DAW. Look at this guy. Shared it out. Much appreciated, Panda. So this is Cosmos. So you have all these samples loaded in here. And it even gives you this view that is previously you've seen in XO. And holy smokes. Audio levels are crazy. You just maybe I'm really quiet. Let me turn this down. Actually, the samples do load pretty loud in this thing. So it puts all your samples, it scans all your sample libraries, and then you can preview all these samples. So XLN by XO Audio, or XO by XLN Audio, made this already. Theirs is also a sampler and does all kinds of other stuff. But Waves basically knocked off just the sample finder part of it and released a free version of it. So hence the video title of that last one is Waves trying to end XLN Audio, because boy, this really they've been spending a lot of money advertising XO. So the fact that Waves just dropped this for free is like bam, like that's a big F you guys. So it's good for us because we get something for free. Not as great for XO, who invests a lot of money in their platform. All right, hang on a sec. I got to adjust some of these levels because that is crazy train. That is crazy gravy. I think I am really quiet. So, plant strains, yeah. Okay, yeah, there's a lot of, there's, the Waves definitely did not, was not the first ones to create something like this. Let me turn I guess let's turn this down. It's just that track is really loud. Okay, so today, sorry, I'm a little discombobulated. Like I said, I rushed to get here. Let me just clear out this, give us some room here to work. I have a lot of, this is my default template, which is crazy train. Because it's designed from when I was doing the live looping streams, which we'll get back into that at some point. But in the meantime, we'll do this. I need to take my jacket off because, like I said, it was kind of a scramble to get us up and running here again. Okay, so this is an awesome sampler. This comes at a time actually where I was messing around with the Ableton simpler and sampler more and more and starting to use more of my sample library. But again, it was just chaos trying to organize my sample library. So I don't really have any plans of what exactly we're going to make. We're just going to kind of search for some sounds and let the vibe kind of come to us, which is typically the way I make music. I usually don't sit down with the idea to do anything. I usually just sit down, kind of find an inspirational sound source and let everything entirely evolve around that. So let's say we want to just start with some synths. Let's go with like a synth pad. Let's just see what we got in here for samples for synth pads. Oops, I turned it down a little too much. That's interesting. Oops. And you can like search stuff you recently did. So you can scroll through here to go check through your history. There's this drop down here where you can like search for things in a similar sound. You can drag up and down. Whoa, and lose control of it. DJ Red Cards, what's up, my friend? Long time indeed. Mostly on my part because my streaming schedule has been inconsistent, but now I'm picking back up again. Softer than 70s. Okay, let's just pick that sample. So we click it, load it up here in Waves. Now we have our sample automatically tuned into the CR8 and ready to go. Let's get our scale selected. I wonder if I should set up my. I usually have a keyboard camera that I've been using. Let me plug this in and see if I can get this to work without crashing everything. It's fun for you guys to see what I'm doing with my hands, so it's not just a boring screen and boring face. How have you been, Red Cards? What have you been up to? Apologies for the setup as we go along here. I could at least get a loop going, I guess, at least. Let's just go ahead. I've been working a lot in D sharp minor. It's been a fun one. This sound is actually really boring. Well, but it won't be boring here in a second. All right, let me get this webcam set up. My goodness, we are really coming together. Gargoyles, Gargoyles, good to see you, man. Homies showing up. Love to see that. Little Saturday morning funness. All right, there's the webcam. Let me plug it in. Hopefully this doesn't crash everything. I turned on my computer like 15 minutes before the stream. It's like everything updated, and I got all these things saying some of your apps no longer work out. I'm like, what? Bad timing. Bad timing. All right, let me turn this Logitech on. Boom. There's that. Now you can see some pad action. Some paction. Just position that like so. Get it down there more. So I've been working a lot on just a Launchpad. It's been you know, I never thought that there would come a time where I would compose majorly on a grid system like this. You know, I'd seen people do it, but I'm like, it just never connected with like playing keys on something like this. I was like, I just don't see ever getting into that. But now I've been doing this like majorly for like most of my compositions and stuff, and I love it. So if you're not familiar with this is a Launchpad Pro. This is an Ableton controller. But it can incorporate with any DAW, and it has, or any just devices that accept MIDI. You can use this for hardware synths, and it's got like some note modes and chord modes. So I like to use note mode, and what you can do is you can with it off, it just shows you this is your regular keys. So these are your black keys, and these are your white keys, and these are your octave. I like to activate this mode where you can set it to where it puts everything onto a grid. So you turn this on and it sets it to whatever scale you have set. Here I have D sharp minor, and I'll make a video about all this stuff too. But now this grid turns into every 4, it goes up to the next row. So this is my octave here in scale. But you eventually learn like relative notes for everything. So like a 1-3-5 chord is that pattern. If I want to do 7th, it's that. A 9th, an octave up. So you learn how to play chords in this view, and all you have to do is set the scale, and then you can play in any scale, and you just have to learn the relative patterns once, and then instead of having to like relearn positioning on like a full keyboard, you just have it nailed and dialed for just this one thing, which has been super fun, because then you can like here, I'm playing 3 octaves with one hand, and then I can come up here and also play a chord up here. So it opens up a lot of fun compositional stuff. So that's what we'll be using today. So let's pull up our CR8 again. So, watching stream, nothing much to do. Nothing much to do, there's always much to do. Alright, so let's mess with the sound. So this sound is pretty boring right now. Let's just right off the bat see if we can layer it with another sound. So with CR8 we can have multiple layers. Let's find another pad. We'll even search in the same sort of category as that. That's fun, gives us a little impact. Alright, let's set a fade out on this second sound we added in. You can also solo sounds, so if you want to just hear a certain sound, you can solo these on and off. And you can also activate and deactivate sounds by pressing these like blue lines, which appear here as well as in this mixer view, and in the keyboard view is these blue lines to activate and deactivate as well. So you can have up to 8 layers, so you can really go crazy with making some sounds. And then before we get too crazy, save early, save often. Don't forget to save your work right away and get used to pressing that save button. Badoop, 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 badoop. Oh, badoop, badoop, save. 12, February 19th. I like to save based on dates, just so I know what I was working on most recently. Okay, so we're gonna add a loop onto this first sound here, because currently it just plays through and stops, and I wanna have a bit of a sustain going in here. So let's go ahead and make our loop points. And you can set the start point independently of loop points. So you can use your normal ramp up in your sample, then have it loop. You'll hear a click when it loops, but here you can set fade ins and outs to get that smooth sound. I need to put this phone on silent. Quiet phone. And we're gonna want some effects on this. And for effects, let's load up, I just got this recently, been playing around with the Nathan's Vibes. Let's go ahead and add a rack of Vibes. Vibes is sort of like a competitor to RC20 by XLN, and Waves has one also now called Retrofy. Everyone's really going after XLN. Want to learn production too? Yeah, man, if you want to learn production, let me know any questions you might have as we're going along. This whole thing is just kind of like, I'm down to teach you whatever I know and can possibly teach you. There's so much to learn, and I learned everything in music the slow and hard way. So anyway, I can help people with shortcuts or anything, the better, for sure. It's definitely the main mission of this channel. So let's get some reverb in here. Let's add some cutoff to the sound. Oops, gotta enable the filter. Add a little resolution. Let's give it some, I want to give it some drive, but we'll give it damage in here, give it some drive in here. Which is, oops. So I don't have a melody set yet, so I want to kind of dial in my sound first and see what the sound's going to be. But I have my scale set, so we'll just be kind of tinkering here. Got this time machine here, sort of gives us some tape effect kind of stuff. And just out of curiosity, let me turn the damage off in Vibes. So there's actually a damage built into the CR8, which gives us a similar effect, but in CR8 we can modulate it here. So I can add, let's say modulation 1, let's add this LFO to here. Let's turn the LFO way down. And we can draw a wave in here. So I want it to go up from the center. So center is, wherever you set this knob is where center is going to be at, and so I don't want it to go below center. I only want this to rise. So let's add in a nice wave, and then we'll have it duck down at the end. This is going to give us some evolving. Let's make it even slower. Let's make it 4 beats. Now you'll see this drive going up with this LFO. Maybe we'll set it to 2 beats, and our note pattern will change every 2 beats. We can sync this to the DAW, and that means as we play, it'll sync with that. Alright, get a melody down. We'll just do like kind of a dark melody like that. So we got this on for recording. Let's see, get my metronome on, which you can't hear, but I can hear. Because I'm sneaky like that. You might hear it bleed through my headphones, but you shouldn't be able to actually hear the click. Some of these, see what make sure my MIDI is dialed in there. Looks good. Everything's looking good. Yeah, Ableton Live is definitely top notch. Yeah, DJ, what DAW are you using? So you're getting into music production. Are you currently using any sort of DAW, digital audio workstation, or are you totally just in DJing software and there's nothing DAW related that you have yet? Like where do you stand currently? And this is supposed to be synced to the DAW, but it doesn't seem. It seems to be kicking in. There we go. Now the drive will rise, and then when the note changes, it drops. It switches. So now we got some automation there. Waves is really good about building these automations into their plugins. That's something that they are phenomenal about. Okay, now let's bring in another CR8. So we got our low down. So let's bring up Cosmos here. So we want to get like some sort of lead. So we're gonna search for a synth. And then a lead. And this will load up our synth leads. Let's see, we can sort it by, let's go dynamics, because I don't need a very wet sound. I can make it wet. Yeah, I hope Andrew Wong made a really good mobile app called Flip, which is only on iOS, and it's super dope. I'm hoping, for the sake of Android users, that eventually it comes out on Android. Because it's ooh, I like that. Let's do that. Because Flip is a really cool app. Oops, wrong thing. Okay, so we need to set a loop here, because I want a little bit of sustain, and I also don't like the end of this sample at all, so maybe we'll have it go back and forth. And then here, to make sure that this going back and forth is sync, you can actually choose the loop length here, so let's just set it to half, just to make sure it's synced. We actually will move the start point right up to that. Let's half the speed. Let's try this in different areas. It's kind of interesting, and it's sort of the way the sample opens up sort of in the middle of the sample gives us kind of some action going on in between beats. So we could get really wild with that. So what we could do is speed this knob up really slow over time. Let's set it to 8 beats. And we start at -2. We'll just say that's the center for the offset. We'll start our LFO here and just sort of ramp it up. Okay, and then we'll add this to here. Now it'll... And maybe I want it to go through this part faster, so I can either draw in the wave so that way it kind of stays at a slower speed through and speeds up at the very end, or I can change this warp knob here, which will adjust how quickly it speeds up and slows down. So I think if I start it this way, start slow, then it warps up. So you see how here now, instead of the LFO moving through 8 bars, it goes really fast. I went the wrong way. I actually want it to start really slow and speed up at the end of the 8 bars. Yeah, we want to play up there. We want to definitely give this some reverb. See how it speeds up at the very end there? We get some action. Let's actually try. So there's a Unison button here, which we can turn on, which gets a Unison effect. So here's without Unison. Let's turn it on. So we get some kind of chorusing there. The Unison has no control. So the Unison is basically taking the sample and sort of like multiplying it, so you kind of get the sample playing a couple times at once with just a very slight time offset, and that kind of gives you a fast sound as though they're all kind of playing in unison. So I want this warp to actually not end so slowly. Change the warp. But I don't like that I don't have any sound control over the unison. So what we're actually going to load instead is this free plugin. This is called Talcorus, and this is a free chorus plugin that is basically modeling the Juno type plugins. Really great plugin to have in the arsenal. Really easy way just to add some sweet chorus effects. Make it a little drier. Alright, now let's add some reverb. Yeah, we will definitely get into fat bass zone here in a second. Maybe we don't need the this rate thing happen, this speed thing happening. That can happen maybe at the very end. You know, actually what we'll do instead, just to give this some more definition, let's keep it kind of roughly at 0 the whole time. And then let's just ramp it up at the end. And a sequencer might actually even be better for this. So let's actually take the sequencer. Actually, let's add, can we go to 32? No, 16 is the max. Actually, that won't work very well because I need it to be gradual increase like this. Let's fix this warp back to 0. Or to 1, rather. Oops, not. I'll give you option, click, it resets. There we go. Common, what is up? How's it going, my man? Good to have you here. By the way, I think pretty much everybody in this stream also creates content. Panda, Common, Gargoyles, DJ, everybody here, I believe, is a content creator, so feel free to drop your links and support each other. Alright, let's record. Just sketch some melody ideas. Sound right now feels really cheap, but we'll work on that in a second. So let's just start with that last bit of that phrase there. Just want the last, give me the last 8 bars. Randy Hopkins, hello, welcome. So is this better than simpler or sampler? So, it's a complicated question. Currently, and maybe this is because I just get excited when I get something new right away, but I like this interface more. The thing about simpler and sampler, and just to show everybody what Common is talking about here, this interface is just a lot more consolidated. It isn't as friendly an interface. Also, in terms of modulation, you get one envelope, one filter, you know, one pitch, because unless you load this into a, unless you do like a sampler, which gives you a little more. Okay, that's unprocessed sound is driving me crazy. Let me turn that down a little bit. And then you have the sampler here, which gives you some various keyboard zones here. You can have things trigger in based on key presses and velocity, which can also be done in CR8. You have this keyboard section here. you can have different samples play on different key ranges. So if I only wanted this thing we're playing now to only be on like the higher keys, we could set this key spread here, so anything below this key spread isn't played. I don't know why I'm putting it on my screen, you can't see that. I should also scoot this over more. So Sampler does that too. I don't know that there's anything that Sampler does that CR8 doesn't do, and CR8 makes it way easier, it's a way better interface. It seems to me like they kind of took a lot of the stuff that was great about the sampler and simplers here in Ableton and sort of put that into their own plugin and own interface. I think it's pretty dope. I mean, this is just a lot clunkier to work around, and it's kind of harder to visualize all the modulation, whereas in CR8 you can like really easily see what's being modulated, see it live. You have all of these envelopes and modulation parameters to work with. It's really easy to assign any of these 5 MIDI parameters also to anything. You can save presets within the plugin, so if you design a sweet bass, you can load it up in here. So trying to work out if it's better than Sampler. At the intro price for $10, I mean, this is a pretty freaking good plugin. And even at full price of $35 is a regular price. Waves does 50% off sales like all the time, so I'm sure $15 would be the regular price for this thing. I think it's worth it. I really like Waves modulation section. I think more plugins should include something like this into their business. But okay, let's make this sound not so. This sound is way too unprocessed for my liking. So let's hit it with RC20. Oh, your Mac restarted. That light's on. Let me turn that light on. That's funny. That's hilarious, Common. I did a whole explanation. Basically, at the end of the day, it does everything that I can tell that Simpler and Sampler does. It has the keyboard splits, but it's a much better visual interface, and it's cheap. It's only $10 right now, so you know, no brainer for me, but it's up to you. I also was able to pay for it with just my referral credit, so I didn't have to pay anything for it, because I had my Waves Tune real-time videos, like my most viewed video, and I get people buying with that referral link all the time, so I could basically buy any Waves plugin I want for free, which is kind of dope. So shout out to anybody that's used my referral link. That's a huge way to support this channel. Even though it's not cash, it, you know, it lets me buy more plugins and do more fun stuff. So RC20, for those that don't know, retro color, it basically is kind of like a lo-fi plugin. Well, it is a lo-fi plugin, but you can do a lot. It's a lot more sophisticated than that. Lets you do some really cool warm processing to sounds. Okay, I'm tired of hearing the same sounds though. Let's turn that one off for a second. I also like to not commit too much. I usually don't go back and mess with sounds too much. I usually make my music sort of evolve the way it sort of sounds and sort of figure out what's missing within that. I made a preset actually in here the other night. Let me see. I made 2. Let me see if any of these work. This one's called Lush Pad, so maybe not. Also, what's my official chord progression here? Because I sort of just like willy-nilly just sort of threw a melody together. D sharp, C sharp, G sharp, F sharp, 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 sharp. So that would be 1754, 1743, 1743. Got it. With a splash of 5. It's funny, this actually sounds like the sound we just made, but this is the one I made a while ago called Lush. This one's called Lush Time, so we'll use this one instead of other sound. Alright, let's try this. Let's go to chord mode. You know, I made that initial melody, and I'm half tempted to decommit from it. So what we can do, let's mess around actually. So something that's kind of fun to do. Let me turn this other sound back on. It's actually, sometimes I decommit. Sometimes you get in, it's like it's just not working. Let's take the same melody. Here we go. Let's try something like that. All right, let's get that in there. Oops, no metronome. So I'm splashing in a fifth and a seventh onto this guy. That's a different rhythm. Let me just record it and do a MIDI capture. This is what's kind of cool about Launchpad too, is doing MIDI capture. So, oh, what's that chord mode? Oh, you never seen chord mode? Yeah, chord mode. This is amazing. So it takes your root note here. It's kind of hard to see the colors on the screen. So there's so basically down here is your root. So you have eight pads that go up, right? So you start at your root, and then you have the 7 notes within the scale you selected, and then your root up there. And it color codes it. So I'm in a minor, so the minors are the kind of these light purple, and then your 4th and your 5th are there, and then it shows your 6th and 7th and your 3rd being your major, which is your relative major scale to your minor, which for D sharp minor, the major scale would be F sharp or G flat. Potatoes. And yeah, it lets you play chords, and it gives you, this is your root, this is your 5th, this is your 3rd, this is your 7th, and then a suspended 5th, I think. Yeah, the chord mode is legendary. You can just go on crazy chord runs. See if I can play this and not mess it up. Let me just reset my tempo. We'll record this one so we can actually make sure we get it and fix it. This next take, we'll get it right here. This is the take. Fuck. Okay. Man, I keep messing this up. So I'm going to show you a way, if you have a tricky progression like this you're trying to record, let me show you a way to record this that makes it a little easier. So we're going to come over here to arrangement mode. We're going to record our chords in here. We have, I don't know, I guess that's, we'll just put it at 16 bars here. So what we'll do is, first of all, switch this view over here. So we're going to do an overdub. So I'm going to record... I'm going to record that first, and then we'll go back in, and then we'll record the higher parts overdubbing on top of that. So let's do that. I am off tempo here. My tempo's not right. I am messing up right now, guys. So here's another method. Let me MIDI capture this. MIDI capture. And that'll set the tempo. So that's another cool thing about a Launchpad is you have this MIDI capture option, so you can play something, and it actually saves huge amounts. I one time played, just improvised like a 600 bar like piano sonata and didn't stop, and it memorized the whole thing. And I pressed capture MIDI, and like the last like 7 minutes of me playing was in there. It's wild. Okay, so now that we have that, now we can play our melody over the top of it. And before we do that, let's actually duplicate this just so we have a fallback. It's good to work non-destructively as best as you can. So let's take this one. Let's go ahead and delete that. We'll name this D sharp basses. I like to stay organized. Command D to duplicate, and then we'll play this one. Okay, we'll do something like that. We can always fix it later. We're just trying to get the idea done. Usually I'm a lot faster about doing this, but so be it. All right. Now let's get her wet. Add some reverb. Capture MIDI is super clutch, indeed. Alright, let's go back to our bass now. Let's mess with our bass again. I might even just have this one drone. Little pitch wheel action. Let's do that. Oh, I pressed my pedal too late. I have a foot switch attached to my APC 40, but I pressed it too late. Hey, where's my mini note I played? There it is. Turn that down. Let's mess around with this sound. This is actually... Oh, I accidentally deleted my raw bass. Let me bring this one back with just the bass notes, because these sounds are getting a little fatiguing. I'm glad you like them. You can learn from all of my mistakes. We'll record another one of these phrases, but we're going to extend the phrase a little bit. On that bass, that drone is a little too much by itself. I don't even know if you can hear that. That might be too low. We're in the sub-octave range. Wrong note again, boy. Okay. Okay, so we got that bass going, but we also want a bit of a fat bass. Something we're going to add to this bass just to give it some more... I have these... This is something I've been working on for a while that I need to dial in and then actually release it to everybody to download, is this Lfo Pumper, which is basically like an automatic sidechainer. So let's set it to eighths. Not fourths. And that'll just give us a break from some of that action going on in that line. Okay, now we've got our... Let's go back to this sound that we were working on. Let's turn this into a bass. Alright, let's find... So we can... Let's add a new sample at first. We'll just deactivate this first one. Let's go to Cosmos. Let's turn off our sound for a sec. Let's find a synth bass. Oops, we already got some parameters loaded here. Let's get rid of that lead. Turn bass on. Come on, synth bass. Alright, now we can find a synth bass in here. All the sounds. Let's start with this one. So this kind of gives us some sort of mid-range. So here's something to consider when you're creating a bass track, and this is by no means a set rule. This is just something as you're sound designing to consider, is keeping an eye on a spectrum. So here with this bass sound, we're actually getting a lot of mid-range tone. Let me set up a sustain in here. So let's turn on our loop. Let's grab our loop here. Let's set a loop here, and then let's do a fade. You can actually probably, with something like this, zoom way in. Shoot, more. Can I zoom in more? I want to zoom in more. Is we can actually just lock on to one of these waves. Just find just a cycle here. So let's go, let's set it to just before the peak there, and let's set the same to there. Now I think... Oh god. That didn't work. Disregard. Sometimes that works with certain waveforms. Not always. A little too much differentiation there. Let's get it synced at least to a quarter beat, so that way it's... You know, something else that we can do, I actually have some samples from a synth. Let's load up one of the samples I have. See if we can find... That one's intense. I don't even know if you can actually hear these. Oops! Oh, I messed that up. Oh, did I just mess that up? Let's just Control-Z that. Holy smokes. Alright, so this is a sample I recorded. It's part of my Pro 1 sample pack I'm working on. Let's go ahead and loop this. Let's get a fat bass in here. Check our sustain loop. I think that'll work. Okay. Such bass. So let's give it some cutoff here. A little bit of resolution, or resonance, excuse me. We'll give it some LFO action here. Let's hit it with a modulation. Slow that rate way down. Is the sound quality good, or is the sound quality bad? Let's go even slower on that rate. Alright, now we got a little bass sound. Let's hit it with Unison. Ooh. Hear that? If you've got on headphones, you just got a nice little stereo blast there. And let's try that compared to the Talcorus. That's the free plugin. Here's the Tal. Actually kind of like the Unison here. Okay, now let's hear back our little beats we're working with. Oh, you know what? This sample is not tuned. So that's something that CR8 actually can do. So you can hit the suggested route here, and it'll detect the route and fix it. Now it's fixed. So now we won't be out of tune. I'll give you a brief of how I have the audio set up in a second. It's actually really clutch. Alright, let's record something like that in there. Need to get my pedal closer so I can turn this on and off easier. So the audio setup is actually, I'm running two audio interfaces, and it actually makes a huge difference on audio quality. Instead of using any sort of, all right, Gargoyles, see you later. Thanks for hanging out. Waiting to play games. Yeah, that's I understand the priorities there. I've been there. I used to be cool once. Just work with this for now. So so I have a two audio interface setup. I can kind of show you here with this little more portable camera. I got a Scarlett. Whoa, we're upside down. Let me keep the camera upside down. I forgot I've twisted everything all right and crazy. So I have a Scarlett 8i6, which feeds into my old Steinberg UR22 MK2. And what that allows me to do is use one of the outputs on my my Scarlett to feed to the inputs of the UR22. And what that also lets me do, aside from having really good quality, because now all I have to do is in my OBS just select the input as my Steinberg. So whatever is coming through my desktop, whether it's a YouTube video or like computer sounds, will feed into the UR22. But what's cool is with Ableton is you can set in the queue over here. Let me see. You can't really see it with. There, you can kind of see it now. In the queue over here, you have a queue output. So I have the output set to outputs 3 and 4 on my interface, which relates to my headphone jack. So I can hear the metronome in my headphones, And if I audition sounds, I can hear it, but you guys can't hear it because I don't have that audio going out into the Steinberg, so it isolates all of that stuff, which is really good for playing live, because then I can sit here and audition sounds, and like if you've ever remembered from, if any of you guys have seen like me do like live performance streams where I'm just like improvising off the cuff, you'll see me like playing the keyboard, but you won't hear anything because I have it queuing through Ableton in only to my headphones, so only I can hear it, so I can make sure everything sounds good, audio levels and effects are good, and then I can bring it into the rest of the mix, which is pretty cool. So that's a 2 audio interface, and that's how the audio ends up sounding good too, because I'm not using like Black Hole or Soundflower is what I used to use, which captures desktop audio. Those have a lot of problems and also take away CPU. Feeding audio into my Steinberg and then using that as my input on OBS takes like almost no CPU, so it doesn't require many reserves, which is super nice. Okay, before I get too crazy stacking sounds, I would like to bring this stuff into... Why can't I select these? Come on, select them all. Son of a bee. Bring these into my arrangement view. I try not to spend too much time. Session view is like amazing for like live performing and also for like sketching ideas, but I try not to spend too much time in there because I don't want to get stuck in this like same 8-bar, or in this case, we're only a 4-bar loop, which is like really hazardous to get stuck in. So let's pull it out of there. And then let's kind of just get a general sort of arrangement going on. So let's figure out what our sounds are here. We'll have let me rename these layers. Bass, we'll call this one Bass 2. And then this is sort of a lead pad. Okay. So I already know I don't want that lead to come until a second. Yeah, I actually am going to do a video on it, because I have a video of it previously when I had my stream set up, but it's changed since then, and I need to update it, and it is really useful, because I know I wish I had known more about that before, especially with Ableton and being able to set separate outputs for like auditioning and metronome, because I've had a click on almost this entire time, but you shouldn't be hearing the click other than what bleeds through my headphones into here because I got open back headphones on. But okay, so I don't really know where this is going. Sometimes I also work on something for about, a little bit of time, and then I like we'll set that aside and go to something else. So, I don't really know where I want to take this right now, and it's okay to not have an answer. I could either work on a B section. One thing I'll do is, this is kind of a cool trick, and I'm actually going to make like a Instagram reel about this, is there's there's something this is something I realized you could do that I never realized was something that's possible. So templates, obviously, if you don't already use templates, I'm glad you're digging it, Common. If you don't already use Ableton templates, you should. You can set up all kinds of templates for various things, whether it's like a mastering template or just like a 5-band template of your favorite band pieces. You can set together templates. But so what's really cool about templates is here you can click open any of these template folders. I know it's probably really hard to see. It's really tiny because I'm on like a 5K monitor. I'm working on making the stream a little easier to see what I'm doing in Ableton, but you can open up any of these templates and it shows you every track you have in that template. And so every track could consist of a group. So here, for example, I have like a drum monkey group. And so drum monkey is within that. I have already all my 8 audio output tracks set up as well as the MIDI tracks. So everything's already split into audio tracks. So I can just get in there and start editing it right away. So instead of having to like reset up an instrument and reroute it every time in a session, or have a template that already has it in there, like in this case, I've loaded a template that doesn't have this routing already set up. So now if I would want to do it normally, I'd have to route everything manually. Well, if you have it saved into template, so here I have a template of just routed instruments, I can drag this in to my session and add it in without having to reroute everything. So here I can just add it in as a new track and then let it load, don't crash, don't crash, don't crash, don't crash. And here, now I've just loaded in this track, which is a group track, which has a MIDI track and 8 audio tracks already set up and routed. So now I don't have to worry about routing everything. Now, obviously, you can do some of this with like saving presets in Ableton, but that only works on like an audio effect rack or an instrument rack basis. This loads all my input-output settings, all my routing, everything within a track group by just loading it in from a template where I've already had that routing saved in a template. So that's kind of a cool trick that I've kind of just like stumbled across just messing with templates is that you can create, in this case, a template of just all your routed instruments that you never have to even open. You just drag over whatever instruments you want. Like here I have all my synthesizers, so I want to drag over one of my 4 synths, I can do that as well. So kind of a neat little trick I share with you. So anyway, here's Drum Monkey, which is a very controversial plugin, and I'll have a whole video about that later. It's kind of silly, but it is what it is. So I'm going to come into here, and I've already got like a template in here that's already, you know, a somewhat usable beat. If you're not familiar with Drum Monkey, it's a very controversial plugin only because it's $300. It's like way too expensive. It should be way cheaper, but it lets you generate these drum patterns based on genres. They say like it generates a usable drum pattern 93% of the time. I find that it's more like 10% of the time. There's a lot of really unusable drum patterns. There's also a lo-fi category, which is like hilariously bad. So like trap, it generates okay patterns in trap. And it also comes loaded with 3,000 samples. Let's turn some stuff. Let me do some mixing here. That lead pad is a little bit loud. So, yeah, I'm gonna have a video about it. The whole reason people get tense about this plugin is because it's $300 and Unison has very aggressive marketing strategies, which they are what they are. Yeah, if this plugin, if Drum Monkey was $50, everybody would be worshipping Unison. But they made it $300, which is like crazy train. It is what it is. I'll have a video on it later. It's very controversial, but I'm going to use it for now just to generate some ideas. It's actually not completely useless as some people say it is. It's just because it's every conversation that's around this plugin is because it's $300. If it was $50, all the conversations would be completely different around this because this actually is a useful plugin. It's just kind of expensive. Okay, so let's find but some of them are hilariously bad. I'm going to show you like a lo-fi category. Listen to these lo-fi drum beats. Here, let's generate one. Okay, this is actually one of the not worse ones. Let me solo this whole category. Some of them are like really fast paced and like the samples for the lo-fi are just like hilariously bad. The lo-fi is probably the least useful category, which is unfortunate because it would be really sick to have this work for lo-fi. Like, look at these patterns. This is crazy. We're in a 95 beat per minute track, and this is what it's generating. It needs to have some way to like half time the drum plugins and stuff like that. And you can also do stuff. You know, actually, since we're using CR8, let's do this. Let's find a decent drum pattern, and then we're going to load that. We can export that drum pattern into CR8, use the Creative Sampler to get crazy with this. So let's find something, not in lo-fi. We can try Synthwave. Some of the Synthwave ones are okay. Hip-hop and trap, it seems to be the best ones generating at, but yeah, 95% of the time generating good is a bit generous. The other thing is that you can generate massively, but you can also like reshuffle things that are like crazy train. So if something's really bad, you can like turn it off and like dial it in individually. So you don't have to like use, I think they've almost created this expectation that you just press this red button and you're done. There is some more to tweak on top of that, but it is a jumping off platform. So like here, if I wanted to add, oops, get out of here. I don't want that. Get out of here. My ride is horrible. Let's turn this on to like a mid-tom and a low-tom. Shuffle the sound, then we'll shuffle a pattern. Let's change this hi-hat sound. Yeah. Okay, then because I have this pre-routed, I can come in here and I can mess with my mix on. Do some little panning. It's actually at a auto pan. onto our hi-hat just to give it some flavor. Oops, that's the wrong channel. The kick is also kind of weak. Let's go ahead and mess with the kick sound. All right, Common, thanks for hanging out. Yeah, it's like 9 o'clock there for you right now, isn't it? You got to get your Saturday on, or go to bed. All right, and let's see, 7 and 6 are my toms. Let me pan my toms. Kick still kind of blows an ass. Probably because this, let me turn this compressor off on it. Let's go back here and here. Let's mess with our kick sound again. Fam time, that's what's up. Change our kick pattern entirely. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is let's load up a CR8. Let's load up a CR8 on just a MIDI track here. It's just an empty MIDI track. We'll do our drums. So now what we're gonna do is take this audio from Drum Monkey. Hopefully it behaves. It doesn't always behave. Another reason it's kind of a pain in the butt. We're going to take the combined audio. See if it drags. It's not dragging. It does this. There it goes. Open this up. Drop our sample in here. And now, oops, arm it for recording. What do we have armed right now? Let's just boop. We can change it to beats as the... Now we have our drum beat loaded up in a sampler. So now we can do some fun stuff with it. So let's mute our Drum Monkey group. Don't need you right now, Drum Monkey. And then let's go ahead and just loop a section here and just kind of figure out what we want to do with our drum situation. So now you can get really weird with it. Change the speed. You can do an offset speed, like here's divided by 3. But what's interesting now is the drums are pitched. So if you wanted to like trigger the pattern with the bass notes, you can like trigger the pattern with the bass notes. So that's kind of interesting. Creative sampling, that was the theme of the plug, the stream, right? So we could that's what it sounds like, play twice as fast. So let's try that. Let's try playing them now that they're pitched. Also, what sounds like a dog? What converted in our sample to sound like a dog barking? Which root do we want to start? I don't know what converted to dog barking. Toms, maybe? That's so weird. All right, this is just for fun. It's so dumb. So now, oops, question is, with this beats, is it playing faster and slower as I drop notes, or is it just pitching? Okay, it is just pitching because it should, because beats should just I believe this algorithm just protects transients, and it stretches out everything in between. Because if I were to do classic, this is like what you get on a classic like sampler, where when you play lower keys it goes slower, then faster keys it plays up higher. We don't necessarily want that for beats, especially if we have a speed knob we can adjust manually. So we could, okay, so let's just take this to another level, because the whole point of this is Creative Sampler, to show off things we can do with this. Let's take this and let's add in a sequencer, which is going to, so let's set our, let's see, every 16 bars, maybe we want it to speed up. So let's set it to 1 beat, the rate. We got 16 bars here. Let's say at the end, we want this to just like go crazy with the speed. So let's go up an octave. Well, it's up 12 semitones, but that equates to here. We'll figure out how much. I would imagine 12 goes up times 12. So let's say maybe that ends on times 8. I'm not 100% certain that this is 1-to-1 on the speed knob. So it's going to go 8, and then we'll go 4. We'll ramp up to it. So it'll go double, double, and then 4, and then that. So let's take this now, apply it to speed. Let's crank it up to full. So it gives full. Now let's see what happens. I think 16. Oh, what's going on? Oh, this needs to be set to sync. That's not synced. Okay, this is, let me change how fast this goes, because this is not working the way I was expecting it to. I thought synced was, well, I thought synced was it syncs with the DAW. I'm confused why it's not. Yeah, DAW piano. So now we have some weirdness going on at the end here with that. Let's see what it does to our speed knob. Let's see how far up it goes. Doesn't really give us a good value number. Maybe we'll have it speed up to 2 when it goes to this one. So let's go to 2 here. Again, and we're just totally messing around. Maybe we'll have it drop way slower at the end. And you know, it doesn't even need to be a huge ramp up. It's almost interesting when it just hits that 2 times pattern. So on every fourth beat here, we could actually have it go up 2. That's weird. That ends up actually messing up the timing. We'd actually would need to do 4 steps, because what happens is the speed like moves the playhead. So if we speed it up, it's actually moving the playhead ahead in the rhythm, and then it's like off beat and stuff. Let's go to 8. Let's only have this at the end. Let's double the rate. Not working quite the way I was hoping it would. We're just experimenting. It'd almost be better just to record something like that in. You installed an output. Yeah, I've seen people do that. I forget what that's called. Circuit bending, right? Is that what you did do it? Interesting. Well, that did something to drums. That would almost work better as like an intro drums than it would. I don't know where I'm going with this. This is getting out of hand. This is getting out of hand, very much so. So before I just abandon this, I don't want to say abandon, just leave it behind for now. I'm going to see if I can generate some kind of B section for this, because I hate it when I just leave something without creating some sort of B section. Because then I get back into it and it's like, what do I want to, because you can't just have this all the way through. You have to change up your melodies and stuff. See, I like that. Definitely those first two notes. Okay, let's do something like that. Let's get this loop over here. Do another take. All right, let's use that one. Oops, I was recording on my drums too. MIDI port out for the Korg Volca. Sample 2 circuit bend. Yeah, circuit bending. I was a minute I was looking into circuit bending just to mess around with things, and I was like, oh man, this is well beyond my league. And a lot of circuit bend stuff I was seeing was like made some crazy freaking sounds. Okay, now let's add one of these basses to this. Let's add fifths. Maybe we'll just do roots. Oops, must have hit that note a little too soon. Just go ahead and MIDI sync that one. Let's make the depth a little bit less in the Lfo Pumper. Dun, 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 dun. I almost like this melody better than the first one. We're gonna record a vocals thing here real quick, just for funsies. Let's put on our just a splash of pitch correction. We are in D sharp. I got this whole rack set up just for this. Shut up, let's try a couple takes. I accidentally record over my bass. I had that set for record, so let me just go ahead and select that one back again. Oopsie doopsies. Yeah, bending vocal or circuit bending something would be very scary because if you break it, if you mess up, you destroy the thing. Or you shock yourself, which is equally crappy. I know I'm underwater. Hang on a sec. Oh God, turn that off for record. Why is it still there? Go away. All right. Alright. Let's tinker with that. Let's go ahead and add vocal bender. Not a perfect vocal take, but we're just ideating here. This is vocal bender. Let's give it some semitone. I imagine, yeah, I feel like with circuit bending, you have to break a lot of things in order to get it working. Okay. So what we're going to do to keep it on the sake of creative sampling, let's go ahead and add a CR8 here. Oops, not a CR8. This needs to be an audio track. Sorry, I need to bounce this with the effects to audio. I guess I can just bounce this real quick. Know what? No, I don't want to do that. Let me add an audio track. Input from master mic, post mixer. Let me turn the input on here. So nope. Let me just go ahead and just record it. We will just record it. I hate that vocal take, actually. That's okay. Okay, so now we have that as audio. So now we'll go to our CR8 here, and we'll just drag the sample bloop, right into here. In you go. In you go then. Cheerio. Vox bounce. Now we've got this in here. Let's go ahead. Let's see what happens if I have it detect. Well, let's see what it sounds like here. Oops. Turn it off classic. Turn it on melodic. Let's have it do this. No, I don't want it to. Oops. Shoot, wrong buttons. Wrong buttons. I knew I just did that. Shoot. I pressed Control Z in Ableton, which is different than the undo in CR8. That was silly. Have a rescan. I don't think that it's. Let's see if you can find the key here. Let's do something. Let's mute this. Unison. So here's somewhere that Ableton would be able to do this a little bit better, is actually chopping this up. There's not a great way or any way to chop up with CR8. Like, it would be nice to maybe chop these vocals up. Like here, for example, let's say I load up a Vox CR8. Let's load up a simpler here. Slice. It's been a while since I've done this, actually. I might mess this up. Ooh. What the heck? What did I do here? Where did my... boy, what the hell? Fucking no, I don't want to... like here, you just drag it into here and set it to slice. And now it's sliced. Volume's way quiet on that. I fucking hate that. Okay. Oh, I hate that. Sorry. Absolutely. Just abort process right there. Okay, this is far more into one session than I get on one song. I was planning on just kind of making this and then ditching it real quick, just out of curiosity's sake. Let's go back here and listen to just the two sections. So we have this, we'll start with this. See how it loops back to the rest, because we made this B section without any reference back to the first. Oh, they do connect. All right, let's get this out of here. We're gonna add some funny funs. So let's go ahead and add in a, we're just gonna work in that B section. We're gonna add in some high flares. I wonder what happens if I type in sparkles into Cosmos. Nothing. Let's see. Let's just search lead, one shots. Go ahead and go to our little beautiful thing here. I want to find kind of like an ARP, something used for ARPs. Ooh, that's actually just fun. Let's throw that in there. That's just a nice little hit. Let's just add that in there for fun. Okay. We're going to dive into a feature here on CR8. Watch this. Okay, so I like this sample, but I also want it as a riser. So let's go ahead and drag this onto the plus. And then let's reverse that. Let's bring our starting point up to here. Okay, it's actually, you heard both there, but here's just the riser. Cool, so that will now do that. Let's set it to a half there. Okay, so now we obviously don't want both these playing at the same time, so this is where this keyboard split thing comes in big handies. So, let's just have the split here in the center. Whoop, and we'll just do there. So now anything above C3 will rise, and anything below will fall. So, there's our rise. Oops. And there's our fall. Let me also cut off some of the low end on my mic. I gotta change that on my thing. My mic is now mounted onto a stand, and when I hit my keyboard, there's really horrible low frequency sounds, which are below my voice anyway. So I cut those off, so you won't hear those again. So if you heard a crazy rumble a second ago, that's what that was. Okay, so now because it is repitched higher up, we're gonna come over here because we don't necessarily want the riser to play an octave up. So we are going to pitch this down. I think we can actually just adjust the root. So let's just adjust the root note so the root note is an octave higher, because I don't want to necessarily sample the pitch, because then we're going to get some unnecessary. Oops, did I do that backwards? Here we go. Okay, now I have a riser and faller out of the same sample. So now, depending on where I trigger on the keyboard split, I get my riser or my faller. Kind of nifty. Okay, so now that we have that, let's listen back again here. Now I want them to last a little bit longer, so oh gosh. So I'm gonna actually come in here and change the speed. Just divide the speed by 2. That's too slow. Let's move this a little closer up. I think my MIDI might also cut off a little too soon. Let's make sure our MIDI is going to the ends. Just go ahead and legato these. Now, to make this a little bit more dynamic, let's have one of them pan to the left and one of them pan to the right. So we rise up on one side and fall on the other. So let's rise up on the left. No, let's rise up on rise up on the left and fall on the right. Let's get a little bit of a fade in on the fall. Kind of fun, right? That's not what we were initially going for, but that's where we ended up. So let's name this one Rise and Fall. Give it some verbiage send. That's kind of cool. Oops, that was the wrong one. I don't want to load this one. I think that's the VSD3. There we go. Okay, so I was originally looking for something to use for an ARP. Well, there's also a reverse sampler in CR8. Effectively does the same thing though, yeah. See, like, so setting something up like that with the keyboard splits, I would have had to load that up into the sampler in Ableton, and it's just like a clunkier interface. It's fine, the interface is fine, but it's just, this is a little bit better. Just kind of quickly open and do something like that. Everything that I'm doing with CR8 is possible with all the Ableton simplers and samplers, except you get a little more modulation controls here, but the interface of this is just like really nice, and also directly integrating with Cosmos is really nice. I mean, that's how we found that sound. That's the only reason we found that sound, is because we were using Cosmos. Would have never found that otherwise, especially considering my sample library is like 30,000 just like completely unorganized samples that up until Cosmos I never went into, because I just like got them from packs over time and they were like way too it was way too unorganized. All right, let's go for some Synth Plucks. Pause the backing real quick. A little too much dynamics in that one. It does do a decent job of normalizing the sounds too. Let's do that. Hey, that's mine. Corley Daddy Pluck. This is my sample. I was like, wow, that one's perfect. Okay, so now I wanted to add some action to this, so let's give it some verbiage. Some echo. Oops, that's not echo, it's more reverb. Something I've been challenging myself to do is not to use arpeggiators and actually play arpeggiation. Reason being, if I play this as like an arpeggiator, I might just do something simple like... But if I hand play it, I can get a little more action on the high end there, so I can like change my... And you can do this when you're playing an arpeggiator too, but it's fun just to do this by hand sometimes. You can just get a little more expressive and kind of break the rules of a standard arpeggiation cycle, which is kind of fun sometimes. I'm going to add a filter to this. Maybe we'll actually have a sort of sweeping, evolving filter. Yeah, the ocean of wave files. Yeah, so you should download Cosmos, man. It's free. Cosmos. I mean, CR8 is $10, but Cosmos is free. Like, anybody should get that. Like, I don't know who would not benefit unless you already own XLN XO. I don't see a reason not to own the Cosmos. And it comes with 2,500 samples, and I was kind of flipping through them, and the samples they're good usable samples, and it organizes. I mean, Cosmos, it scans everything and tags everything, so you can like search for, that's how you can add all these filters, and you can edit anything it tags too. So if you find something that's not quite tagged right, you can fix it. But like here in this case, editing 30,000 samples would take 10 years, so I'm not doing that. If I come across something that's like egregiously violating what its category is, I'll get rid of it. But otherwise, it stays. Let's turn Unison on. Don't know if I like Unison, but what we can do, if we want to take this ARP sound to the next level, we can still look for other synth plucks. Like here's like a little sparkle. Let's go ahead and load that in. Like this is one of the any of these with these W8 titles. That's a Waves. So this is one of the plugin. This is one of the samples that came with Cosmos. So let's go ahead and add some cutoffs. So we can do filter groups. So I'm going to filter group 1 and make this the same as this one. Oops. I lost my modulation. That's okay. Easy enough to turn back on. Bloop. Okay, so now these are both in the same filter group. So now they're being affected by the same filter. Let's add a little bit of just a scoosh of attack to this. Let's tune it down. Let's knock it down an octave. This. Nope, that sucks. Let's actually. We'll do a fine tune, just a little off. And we'll go to our mixer here. Let's give this its attack. Let's go to attack 2. Assign an attack 2 envelope here. We'll give it a little bit more. Let's solo this sound. Here we go. Just a little. Here we pitch. Let's see. Trying to decide if I want that that pitch thing up or not. Let's go ahead and just keep this at default tuning. We'll turn the width up though on it. Maybe that'll help us. Okay, now let's just record something in there. That's enough tinkering with that. These layers are just super nice to have on here. And let's actually do a little bit of slight panning on here. Let's up the width of the first one too. Okay, let this play. Gotta figure out I was playing without any metronomes on it. I changed my rhythm. Not working quite like I hoped. Let's turn on an Arpeggiator. Let's try this. I'm a hypocrite. All right. See, these first notes missed a little bit. Let's go ahead. I don't like how dry that sounds. Go ahead and add vibes. No noise. I'm going to turn off the... there. Such arp. Much more dramatic now. Messing with the damage here. I don't think we need the damage. It's getting very dramatic. Now our B section is probably a little more built out than our A section. That's okay. Now we're getting to the point where our drum mucking samples are really starting to fall short on us. Oops, forgot the loop went all the way back to that one. Working in the A section. Let me just remind myself what this melody was here. This is a 17645. Got it. Of course, obviously. Excellent. Call that good. So the arpeggiator here, we're using it way less aggressively. I'm going to throw these below this mic so I know that they're not currently in use. Let's have that loop back into our B section to see how we're tracking here. I know that probably want the riser here from this one coming in to lead into our B sections. Appreciate it, Panda. Always love the shares. They earn you free sample packs. we'll have our fall here as well. So basically, we want to split this up here and here. Let's give our arps a little bit more spread. Maybe a little more cutoff also. Let's go to our CR8 here. You know, now I'm realizing too that even adding this same modulation that we have on our cutoff to our pan, oops, that was the wrong thing, might also be pretty nifty. So let's do that, but we're gonna offset these. So let's have our pans, we'll set to 0. We'll have one positively impacted and one negatively impacted. Maybe not so much. Alright, so I'm just going to throw in a quick... Let's do a quick, just a little better arrangement here, now that we know what we're doing. Now that we've got our... everything tied together more. Yeah, we'll just definitely needs to be a better transition, but that'll come with future renditions. So something I can kind of quickly do, just to sort of before I wrap this, is bounce some of this audio actually into these tracks. So currently the drums are all just coming through Drum Monkey. What I'll actually do, let's actually arm these all for recording. Let's bounce this audio into here. Let's turn this off of recording. Let's just get these audios bounced into this. Oops, that only did one. Oops, wrong button. I am pressing all the wrong buttons. Okay. Do not want to record from not the start of a bar. Let's go ahead and delete those. Okay, really? With this? Round 4. This will give us audio. Why does it? Oh, my kick is peaking. Oh, because I turned off my compressor. Okay, so now we have that as audio. So that means now we can drag this into, you know, I don't understand. You used to be able to shift click and grab everything. That's like not a thing now. What the now I have to like click and drag. That's super weird. Very jacked. Okay, so now we can bring our drums into here. And now we can better chop up our drums and arrange our drums. I don't know that this would be... I gotta change these to auto. I don't know that this would be necessarily the final drums I choose, but it's just a kind of it kind of just gets us started. So there's nothing on 8. That's muted. So we'll just delete that. And this one's also muted. So we'll hide that section as well. This was our kick, hi-hat. Got to reference back to this to see then an open, perk, mid-low toms. So this is open, hi-hat, perk, low, and mid-toms. Mid-tom, low-tom. Okay, so maybe the drums we'll start off with just no snare. Oops, and we have to mute. Why am I hearing toms? There we go. It's pretty mild. I'm not sure what to do with the drums. This is lots of buttons, all the buttons. Let's turn that arp down. I am not convinced on any of these drum patterns. Okay, that's good enough for now. That'll just get us a draft, because I like to just kind of save these as drafts and come back to them later. And there's not as much variation in here as I would like. I like to have the A and B sections be a little bit more diverse. And that's a good enough track for now. All right. So that's Waves CR8 Creative Sampler, creatively sampled in the Waves. Yeah, that was fun. See, what I could have done is taken those drum monkey samples and actually put them into a rack and actually drummed it. I have a drum pad set up for the most part. I still have to do a little more setup on my drum pad behind me. It's that guy right there, little Roland SPD. I have it set up for Ableton drum racks, but I got to do some more dialing in it. When I play on it, it sounds not great. I need to make a rack specifically for it. Do you freeze MIDI and convert it? No, I don't. So what I would do, typically my process from here, I bounce this as just an MP3 track, and I don't listen to it for like a few days, maybe even a week. And then I save that into like a draft folder of just like ideas that are like to be sorted. And then every week or so, I'll go into that folder of all these just tracks I worked on that week, and I'll decide what am I going to develop, and then what is just going to go into like a kind of a sort of like a sketchbook sort of pile. I try to be very selective with what I advance forward, because I already have so many things so many tracks I want to keep dialing in and working on, that just diluting that more makes it really hard to like focus on anything. I already have a hard enough time like focusing on what tracks to finish anyway, because I have so many ideas that I just want to always be unfolding. But no, also I'll bounce this as an MP3 and I'll come back later and listen, and then come back in here and make any changes. I don't freeze the MIDI and convert it. I don't like to work. That's considered like working destructively, where you're basically destroying what you had before. So if you wanted to change anything in your sound or your MIDI, you're pretty much locked into what you have. So I'll keep all the MIDI, and then I mix with MIDI and everything like that in place. If I ever mix and I wanted to bounce everything, I would actually just bounce every track into a separate wave file, and then I would just load those wave files into a mixing file. And then if I wanted to come back and edit any of my MIDI stuff, I still have this original track to come back to, change anything, just bounce that track back out, replace it in the mix, and then from the mix I'll export that and then to a final wave, and then that'll be my file that I master, and then once it's mastered, it's released. So no, I don't freeze and convert any of the MIDI. I don't like doing that. I like to avoid it at all costs. There's times where it's beneficial. Sometimes you might have an instrument playing that is like sucking up like way too much juice from your computer. That would be a good time to maybe bounce and convert something, or at least freeze it you don't really necessarily need to convert it if you freeze it. And that at least locks in everything, so your CPU isn't processing all your automations and your plugins and stuff. And freezing it would be fine. Sometimes you'll find too that when you freeze something, the sound will change. Not necessarily in a bad way. It's just that it processes everything that it's supposed to. So the sound will be different because it's not running through your like buffer. It's actually already processed it and will be the final sound. And it's good to do that because things will change. Like I just released a track last week on my Spotify. It was everywhere. It was Lost. That's what it's called. And in that, there's like this bass swell that I had like heard a bunch of times as I was working on the track. And then when I exported it, the bass swell, the sound changed quite a bit. Didn't make it better or worse. It was just different, and I was kind of surprised by that. So then when I was mixing, I went back and froze that file because I know that sound specifically really changed. And even looking at the wave patterns of it changed it a lot. So times like that, it might be useful to freeze. Otherwise, I usually keep it like this so I can always go back and edit it and change anything, make any modifications, because I'm never sold on anything right away. This is, like I said, I usually don't even sit here doing one thing for 2 hours. I'm usually creating a couple ideas and then like putting those aside, exporting the MP3s of like a basic thing, and then going back. Like here's like show you some examples. And this is just a way I do it. This is not the only way. This is just a suggestion. So like here's this folder of just like a bunch of ideas that I have. This is like, so any idea I have, it automatically gets saved into this one. And then if I don't like it, it goes into Sketchbook and it disappears behind everything. Otherwise it moves forward in the chain. And so here I export, hey, where are my MP3s? Oh, so that's right. So this is a little janky right now. So here's like a 7-minute long, just like sonata I recorded on with tape piano. I was doing my tape piano preset stuff. So I'll just come through and like listen to this and be like, is this something I want to advance right now? If not, it goes back, and otherwise it moves forward into the chain. And then when I'm ready to like work on something, I come in here and see, all right, what do I need to finalize? So like here, every folder here is like a different EP that I've like just been gradually working on, which is like way too many to work on at one time. And I'm working on that. But this essentially like lets me categorize. So like these are like different EPs, but essentially they're like categories of sounds. So like Chill Boy, these are like all these like lo-fi beats that I've just like worked on that I decided I wanted to like move forward. Some of them like this. Like this is just a 23-second loop. Some of them were just like quick ideas where I may have been sound exploring something else and I came across this and I'm like, oh, this is cool. Let me just record this and then keep doing what I'm doing otherwise. So this could obviously be flipped into like a sweet beat. Like this could be like a sweet intro and then like really drop into something. And so I'll just come in here and listen to these and decide if any of these sound like this. You probably heard, I think this is the audio I used on my last video. I just like went in here and I'm like, all right, I need a backing track. So I come in here to these folders I know are more dialed and kind of just look for a backing track that'll work. And then I can just open up any of these files. Some of them are like Logic, some of them are in Machine, which like some of the ideas are really good, but I'd like just hate going back into those systems. I just like so love Ableton now that like if it's not an Ableton, I almost just want to delete it. But which I did for not delete, moved it into this like the draft area, which I did for a lot of things. But some of them are like good enough. I thought that they were like, I'm like, okay, I should develop this more. In that case, if I didn't want to work in Logic, yeah, I might bounce that MIDI then and track it out and then import those stems into Ableton just to like get out of Logic. Not that there's anything wrong with Logic, but Ableton's just like so much better. But yeah, that's kind of the process. It's would be efficient if I like didn't like keep generating new ideas, but I generate new ideas way faster than I finish ideas, which is a flaw that I have. But some of this too is like now if I find a vocalist, it's like, okay, you want to like do an EP? Here's what I have. Here's like a couple of like different sounding albums. Like Testarossa Boy is like synthwave stuff. So like if somebody wants to have like, apologies, that was loud as fuck. So now if I want to like show people like more synthy kind of tracks, I can come in here and show them synthy tracks, and then they can should stop doing that, it's loud. And then I can just like present these ideas, and if they like them, then we can use them. And then if I decide I hate them in a year, then I can move them out of here and just save them into this folder, which is basically my waste dump of all just these different past ideas, which I'm just like, no, this isn't gonna work. And usually they're usually not like horrible. There could be like a savable element out of them. So I might go back through some of these and like build sample packs out of some of these ideas, for example. Like some of them are like track ideas. Like I'm not moving forward with this one. This one I've thrown in the sketchbook. But yeah, that's kind of my process. It's like that one, the drums kind of suck. The guitars, nah. You know, I saved at the time, but I usually don't delete anything. There's usually not much of a reason to delete much unless you're like really running out of space, which I'm not there yet. So I just kind of put them in here. Like this is kind of a cool ARP. I could probably extract this ARP, you put it in a sample pack. Like it's usable. I just put it. I'm not advancing it forward, but if I came back and was just looking for stuff, you know, that's usable. Or I may decide it inspires me and I want to pull it out and put it in here. There's a what's his name? Deadmau. One of his like most streamed songs is actually a track that ended up in a folder similar to this. That was sort of like a nuclear waste of a folder, and he took it out of there and reworked it, and now it's like his, like, I think it's Strobe. I think Strobe was the one that he did that with. So you might come back here in a year and find stuff, but the key to anything I highly suggest is exporting these files, these audio files, so that way you don't have to load up all these projects, which takes forever. This way you can just quickly open up previews of things, see what it sounds like. That is like probably the biggest tip I could give to anybody for file organization, is exporting just like little demos of each of the track and getting as much of arrangement as you can. But you know, even if it's only 10 seconds long, that way you don't have to load it up. Because the other problem is that if you load something up and it's like a 3-year-old file, you might not have like a plugin anymore, or it might even be in a DAW that you don't even use anymore and don't even have access to. So at least if you export the sound, you have the idea, so you could recreate it with whatever new DAW you have. That's kind of one of the principles too. So it makes it easier to browse, and it gives you a timestamp, so that way you can, you know, remake it. It's just a low quality MP3 file, so it wouldn't make for anything great to like sample with, unless you like convert it to like a lo-fi sampler or something. But at least that way you have the idea. But that's the trash folder. Some of those are bad. But yeah, so that was the longest way I possibly could have answered your question. But that's how we do it sometimes. All right, well, we did it. We did the thing. We made something with the CR8 sampler. Spent a lot of time on it, much more than I was anticipating doing one track. But hey, we did it. I appreciate you hanging out, everybody who tuned in. Panda, glad to see you're still here. Always fun hanging out with you. Yeah. Don't have the next stream scheduled, but it'll come. I'm getting more in the rhythm of doing this kind of stuff and getting better at building video content a little more consistently. Things have been lining up a little better in life to do this stuff more, and I'm trying to do it more and more anyway. So yeah, that's fun. I'm trying to build my store out because I have a huge... This is all so loud. All so loud. Probably can't even hear me. I don't really want to mix everything down here. Let me just turn everything down like that. Not the smartest move. I've been trying to build out the store with some... I only have 4 things on there right now, but I have a whole marketing strategy to unleash with the store thing, but I try to add as much free stuff as there is paid stuff. So right now there's 2 presets and 2 sample packs. This is the free preset and free sample pack, and then there's a paid one and a preset pack one. So I'm trying to build this up. There's going to be a lot of Ableton instrument racks in here. There's going to be a bunch of free cheat sheets, but that's kind of been a big priority of mine, is to just get stuff in here, because to do this more full-time, I'm going to need to turn on some monetization channels. So this is just one of those ways, and everything's going to be $5 or free. So nothing will be more than $5, and I want everything to be a screaming value, because basically I'm competing with Splice, which like just give samples on the cheap, right? It's like, what, 5 cents a sample in Splice, or 3 cents or something like that. So that's sort of the going rate. But the premise of these is that everything is going to kind of have a theme, and they're going to be good quality samples, and hopefully everything's a little bit more usable. There's a lot of garbage in Splice, and there's garbage everywhere, but nothing's garbage. Everything's useful. Everything has use. It just depends what you're looking for. Like a lot of sample packs I see, they're a little too broad, and they kind of try to do everything at once, and then they do like nothing super amazing. Like one sample pack's going to be like, you know, like sounds from like individual one of these synths. Like there'll be like a Pro 1 sample pack, and like presets for various things. And I'll just keep filling this up. If there's a free preset that somebody's like, if there's like a free instrument, like here, Cherry Audio, you can download the Surrealistic MG1 for free. I'll try to get it and create a free preset pack for it, just because if they made a whole plugin for free, the least I can do is make a preset pack for it for free. And keep doing stuff like that as well. I want to make sure I have the goal is to kind of have a pretty good balance of free stuff and paid stuff on the store. Nothing's gonna be more than $5. So and everything is ideally going to be like a screaming value. Like this took a whole week to make this preset pack. There's 50 presets in here, and it was a lot of sound design and tape piano to get it. So there's like a lot of work. Like we did a stream. It was 4 hours where I was streaming making presets in this thing, and I made 7 presets in that 4-hour stream. So it's like a lot of work goes into making these things. But I also don't think that, I think $5 is a, you know, some people charge like $30 for a sample pack, and I'm like, why is this $30? Like, why are you asking this much money? It doesn't make any goddamn sense to me, but that's what it is. Anyway, I've said enough. Mr. Rambling. I had some coffee just before this stream, so it's pumping through me. But yeah, I got some stuff to do, some more videos to make, so I'm going to get to that. And thanks for hanging out. Appreciate everybody. Oh, Panda, I also, last stream, I think you may have ducked out before you knew I gave it to you, but I'm sure you noticed now I gave you mod abilities, so you're now a moderator. I gave that to you. I think I gave it to you after you left one of the previous streams, so I don't know if you ever noticed that, but you're a moderator of this chat now, so... And I gotta remember to give it to Gargoyles and Comment and everybody. I guess I can do it now, but I'd like to do it when they're here, so it's special. Nice, there it is. Can I pin that? How can I pin that? Can I pin that from here? Pin message. Bloop. Now it'll be pinned for the last 30 seconds of the stream. Because I don't think it pins retroactively. So I think it pinned. Did it pin? Yeah, it's pinned. Doesn't tell me what's pinned. Oh, there it goes. That's slow. Nice. Boom. Anyway, appreciate everybody.